Okay, so we've just done another podcast with Helen Simmons. I hope that's the right way to pronounce it. She's sat right here, so I have to be nice about her. This podcast is a real reason why I started doing this podcast, is to see the characters that work in the industry. This lady has travelled more than, I don't know, Noah. She's done a lot of travelling. But I feel like knowing her now and the characters in the franchise industry, if you're thinking about ever going into franchising or buying a franchise, these are the type of people you're working alongside. If you struggle with grief with siblings as well, I think this might be a nice podcast to watch as well. Thanks for listening. Okay, so it's the Tezlom Podcast again. I always do this. I don't really know the guests when they come on, but I have a feeling of the type of person they have, and I've had conversations around them before, and we have met a couple of times, and I get good energy from this lady. So I had to invite her on my podcast. Please, will you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what your company is and what you do?
My name's Helen Simmons. I run Caterpillar Music, which is a baby and toddler music franchise. We run baby classes where parents and carers come to us with their little ones, 0 to 4s. We also go into nurseries. We do birthday parties, and we also most recently run intergenerational sessions, which is going into care homes.
Oh, I love that.
Which could be a connection for you and your clients.
My little boy did it at nursery. He went to the nursing homes. I know the nursing home as well that he went into, Yeah, I think it's amazing that they do that. I think it's a really good idea.
There's such special classes. Yeah, we've got one of our franchisees actually was the groundbreaker. She saw something, I think it was an American video about 7 years ago, and absolutely fell in love with it. And those are her favourite classes. And she did a presentation at one of our conferences, and just so many other franchisees do it now, and they're really, really special.
Yeah. So Kay was in tears about 2 weeks ago because the whole team's been going out seeing our clients, because I believe that the whole team should see clients, not because there's only usually salespeople that see them, but when the whole team does. Kay come back because she's a bundle of emotions basically, and she came back. Oh my god, they do this, they got to do it. I'm like, yeah, all nursing homes do it, Kay. But it was really good. They did, what was it, Kay, that they did?
They'd created a bus stop, and the council had given them like bus seats, and they had a TV and it had like cars going past.
Oh,
so when people were trying to get out of the home, they were like, "Oh, come wait for the bus."
Oh.
It's amazing.
And there's other nursing homes that have like proper front doors and plant pots outside in the corridor, so you think they're in their house and stuff. It's amazing.
That's so special.
Yeah, my dad had dementia and Parkinson's, and it's hard. I don't know if you've ever had anyone in your life with it, but it's a very hard thing to live with. And I think that when Jackson and Logan both went to nursing and went to these nursing homes, I kind of didn't realise what it meant. But now I've had my dad with dementia and Parkinson's, I really understand it, and that piece about not seeing grandkids or all that love, and it's an amazing bit of work. Like I feel like it's
special.
Yeah.
Well, there's also, so especially with when we go into care homes, there are some of the residents are not really very vocal. And yet, when the music comes on, they just come to life, and it's just.
I think that's for everyone, isn't it? Music makes you feel better, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and they're singing along, they remember all the words, and yet they can't remember what they ate for breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, it's
don't like me, that actually.
me. It's like brain fog going on.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Life, so I'm missing my dad quite a bit at the minute, and he used to listen to, when I remember growing up, he used to listen to Tina Turner, Madonna, and Michael Jackson all the time in the car. I've had Madonna's Material Girl on repeat for about 2 weeks in the car. I had it on this morning. I don't even care.
You sing full volume.
100% like a fully no holiday Material Girl. No, I'm all off by that. just because it makes you feel close to my dad, and I think that piece of work is amazing, that you can make people feel better by bringing music into life. And if you can bring a few old people to life with some music and kids, like what else is there better?
I think your parents are slightly younger than mine. Mine were, I was into like Glenn Campbell and all the country. My dad loved jazz, so he was listening to things like Errol Garner or something. And he was a pianist as well, my dad. So we had a piano in the house growing up, and it was just an upright piano that he got for his 21st. And he would literally, I'd have Michael Jackson on, and he would literally be tinkering along. And it would sound good, even though it wasn't the Michael Jackson, it wasn't the song, but it was amazing.
Is that where your flair for music came from your parents, you think?
It's funny, I fell into the job that I do now, really. Not fell into, but I never thought of myself as using music in my job growing up.
When you were coming through your teens and your 20s?
Yeah. In fact, I used to play the violin, and I loved the violin. Like, I think I started, I don't know how old I was. It was in... I think it was primary school, and then I took it on through secondary school, and then I ended up going to Norway as my it was like a host family I stayed with, and all these concerts were organised. I played with the orchestra, absolutely loved it, but I was only about 12. I stayed with a host family, a girl I didn't know who was probably a year or two older than me, and she was a guitarist, but I stayed with the host family, and I think I was 12, and she had twin daughters who were 8, still write to them. And it was just, I loved the orchestra. I loved being part of that whole outfit. And what I didn't like was the lessons, so I didn't. Yeah. My violin teacher was a little bit boring, sorry if you're watching. But I just didn't get along with the scales and things like that. But I loved being part of. I just think music can open up a whole load of opportunities, and that was one that I just will never forget. You know, I'm still in contact with the Norwegian family. And
it's funny, you know. I think there's 3 people that have been on the podcast that had connections to Norway. And
really?
my mum has as well. Mad that,
really?
Innit? Yeah. My mum was when they worked in like different bars in Norway when she was in her teens. Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard different stories of all sorts of her skiing in a bikini and all sorts of stuff. So I'd rather not know if that's all right. She did a bit of travelling in Europe. That'll do me.
Yeah, it's just incredible. What an experience.
So tell me a little bit about family life. So what did your dad do for a job? What was it?
So my dad was an electrical engineer for, at the time it was GEC, General Electric Company, and then it became Alstom, I think. Might have had a few other names. I think it was GEC, Alstom. Anyway, so he was a design engineer, and that he started an apprenticeship when he was in his teens, and it was very kind of reputable at the time. It's like one of the biggest...
This was in Manchester, wasn't it?
Yeah, Openshaw in Manchester, and so he worked his way up, and then he ended up, so he was a design and draftsman, and then he ended up training people on all this switch gear, and he started travelling, and he'd be travelling to like parts of India.
No way.
I remember he went to Poland and Holland, I think, were his first.
Back then, that was like not something you did all the time.
No,
yeah.
It's massive. And then, and he used to bring me back, you know, things, gifts and stuff. I remember this satchel, I think it was from Poland. It's this huge school satchel with all these reflectors hanging off it. It was really cool. I loved it.
Yeah.
And he brought me, you know, some opium perfume from his India trip. And then when I went to university, he was in Venezuela for like 9 months, and he'd come back every 6 weeks to see my mum. But my brother was travelling, I was at university. There was my mum rattling around the house on her own, and he was in Venezuela. So I think I was really inspired to travel because of him and all the stories that he came back with. Yeah. It was brilliant. And, you know, I knew there was a life out there that I wanted to discover for myself.
So just a bit about mum then. You cracked into mum then a little bit. What was mum's story? What was mum doing?
So we had a really lovely upbringing.
In Openshaw?
In Droylsden, which is kind of... I think the way I explained it, near where the city ground is now.
I know where it is.
It's like northeast, it's a few miles from there. And really safe. We were right on the edge of the green belt, so near Little Moss, which is, and Daisy Nook. I've noticed you've got Silcox Fair here, or Silcox family. Yeah. They used to come every Easter to Daisy Nook, and we'd walk along the canal, go to the fair, come back with a bag of goldfish in various states of condition. But so we lived on the edge of the Greenbelt, and you could count like 7 farms on the edge. So we'd be out for days, you know, just on our bikes, on our roller skates, in the ditches. Yeah. It's brilliant. Happy upbringing, four of us in the family and a dog. Mum was... she would work part-time. Well, she had loads of time off when we were growing up, and then... Being a mum.
Yeah, there's no time off.
Yeah, Dad was the breadwinner. Yeah. And Dad had... Because he literally worked a mile down the road, so he'd be gone at, I think, 8:15 in the morning. He'd be back by 5. It was really... he was there, around a lot. And Mum... just did part-time work. So eventually, when we all fled the nest, she got into just being a dinner lady at a special needs school, which she absolutely loved. She didn't have to work, but it was just doing something good. She was really happy, smiley. Everyone would always say, you know, everyone knew her. She was always on the bus. On the bus to Ashton to do a shopping, you know, getting a meat from the meat man, cheese from a certain cheese man, and you know, and I remember having a conversation. Is that
Ashton Makerfield?
No, Ashton under Lyme. Yeah. Big indoor and outdoor
market. Remind me of a girlfriend now.
Yeah. So Ashton under Lyme, I loved it.
Yeah, I know the place.
I love it now.
Yeah, I know it's nice.
You know, thinking about the
Staley Bridge, Staley Vegas.
Oh God, Staley Vegas.
I've been out, me too. Well done. Can't talk about
that. No, we won't talk about that on the podcast. But I remember, I remember having a conversation with her one day, and I'd say, Mum, why don't you just go to the supermarket? Why do you get your vegetables from there, your bananas from over there, your cheese from over there? And actually now I've evolved back towards my mum. I live in a little village in Surrey now, in Ashstead, Surrey, and I've got a greengrocer and a butcher at the end of the road, and I just love it. I'd rather do all of that than, you know.
I think you can. I'll be honest with you. So everyone kind of knows anyway. But shopping, I love a bit of shopping. So I'm exactly the same. I'd rather potter around and go to shops and find new things and get imagination from shopping.
Yeah. 100%. And inspired by stuff you can taste, you know.
Yeah.
Berry Market. I'm going to do that while I'm up here.
No, it's amazing. Get some black pudding.
Absolutely, yeah. My husband loves that.
I went to shopping today. I got some beef brisket, and I was like, oh my God! And I was like, just go off on a tangent, don't you?
Yeah. We do a lot of cooking in our house, and so like just the raw foods. Oh, I just love it. Don't really do much processed stuff. Yeah.
So, talk to me about school, university. Like, I'm trying to basically figure out how you got into your position and what led you there, because I always find it's never a. It's like a.
It's definitely a. So it's funny, isn't it? So I started my primary school. So my brother was 5 years older than me. So I just literally followed in his footsteps. Went to the same primary school, and the teachers then were teachers that stayed in the same job for decades. And, you know, you went into year 4 juniors and you knew it was going to be Mr. Malay. Rest in peace, he's literally just passed away, I think age 92, 93. But he taught my brother, and I was dead excited about getting into his class at school. And I've just literally passed his wife was a hairdresser like your wife. And she was called Shirley. And I remember going on a school trip and with Mr. Malay, and he said, wave to Auntie Shirley, and all the kids, you know, class of 30 would be waving up to Auntie Shirley on the first floor, hairdressers. So really, it was brilliant, actually. Loved Aldrin County Junior School. It was in Audenshaw. And then I went to the local girls' school, which was Fairfield High School. A lot of the Coronation Street cast went there. Well, not a lot. I think 2 of the current cast went there. Yeah. Really, it was known as kind of the posh girls' school. at the time. I don't know what it's like now, but it was quite well thought of in the area, and it was just where most of the girls went.
Did you enjoy it yourself?
Yeah, I did. We had quite a strict headmistress at the time. I was in kind of you went into sets, and the top two sets, there were top two sets alpha classes, and then there were 4 A classes. And I was in kind of the second alpha class.
So
I was doing all right. Yeah, I think my brother was nervous I was going to do better than him. But I would go at lunchtime and breaks time. I'd go and spend my time with my bestie Lisa, who was in the A classes. And so I was a real mix. I got on with everybody. I just, I had friends in all different intelligence groups, should we say. But, obviously, my bestie went on to do really well for herself in the banking industry. And we all did okay from that school, I think. Good, that's nice, isn't it? So for me, I just followed in my brother's footsteps. I was always going to go to university, always wanted to travel. And in the back of my mind, I always wanted to have my own business. But I always used to say that, but I didn't know what it's going to be.
Why? Do you think that came into your head?
Do you know, I don't know. But I think...
Mum's not got her own business, Dad's not got his own business.
Not at all.
Do you know
Do you know what though? When so my brother Mark, he after university, he went to East Anglia. He travelled, and that's what he wanted to do. We both wanted to travel. Yeah. And he used to buy and sell things. So he came back from his travels to Southeast Asia, and he sent back a load of kind of all that Nepalese stuff it was, and the batik, shirts, bags, friendship bands, when it was all really cool in the 80s and 90s. And so he'd send it all back. And then later on in my early 20s, I worked for AstraZeneca just as a technician, temp job. And I would be selling it at lunchtimes in the canteen. I'd have set my stall up, and he just wanted to he was kind of sampling it to see if it sold, and if it did, he had this business idea.
What's he doing now?
He passed away.
Was he?
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, it's quite a while ago. Yeah.
That's right.
But he was my inspiration, I think, because it didn't come from mum or dad.
Yeah, exactly. So he's obviously led the path a little bit for you there, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I went to college, when I went to sixth form college, and I remember the career person said, you can't do languages and sciences together, you have to choose. And I did really well. I did French and German, did biology, chemistry, and I enjoyed biology and I enjoyed the languages. And so I thought, what am I going to do? So I followed the careers advice and went and did sciences, and then went on to find a degree that was biology biology with European studies. So I spent a year in Germany, supposed to be studying biology. My friends made me a T-shirt with beerology. Because it was the most amazing year. That was my third year of uni.
Have you got loads of broken men's hearts in Germany?
Well, I don't know. Can we not talk about that, right?
It's like some poor guy still walking around Germany. Where's Helen?
But it was just the best experience, a year. And I remember, because I hadn't had the A-level German, because I did all sciences, I got to Germany fretting, standing in my bedroom going, when I get, because it's shared student accommodation, there were 10 Germans, an Irish girl and me. Wow. And I was thinking, when I go in the kitchen, what do I say? How do I greet people? My German was really minimal. But by the end of that year, I was working in a cocktail bar, I was working in a record store. Yeah, records, they were a thing.
I'm growing up, I'm on records.
Yeah.
So you just picked up the German language from there?
Yeah, and the thing was so I tried to go to a lecture in biology, and I thought, I'm never going to learn this, it's just German coming at me. I need that two-way thing. So I went to do a project in a lab. It was about cotton bugs. Just don't ask. But, you know, I'd roll in at 11 o'clock after a night on the beers and do a few hours with these German students who've been there since 7 a.m. You know, they're all doing their PhDs, and I was like, oh, it's Helen, you know. She's gone out to the Mensa now for a lunch for 2 hours, and she'll be going home about 3. And so I'd do a really short day, but I was having that two-way conversation with loads of Germans, and living with the Germans, and it was just brilliant. What an experience.
I admire you for that, because it's interesting. There's other people on the podcast who speaks a second language, and I don't, and I sometimes think, should I, do you know what I mean? Like, should I do something about that? Because I feel like it's a bit ignorant, if anything, that other people do, don't they? And I think I just admire you for it, because one, doing a degree, which I could never do, and I'm not intelligent enough, and secondly, go on doing it in a different country as well. It's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, I've never really used my degree.
No.
If I'm honest, not the biology side anyway. I think I've used the German more,
yeah.
But actually the degree was a stepping stone, because it did get me a visa to go to Japan, which was, yeah, that's a later story. But yeah, so I was teaching English in Japan later on in life and stuff. It's just, yeah. But yeah, as for the degree, I mean, now things are different now. My eldest son, we were quite surprised that he wasn't interested in going to university, and we were like, oh, but I think times have changed now, and people go to degrees because they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think if I'd have been born and now was the time I was going to university, I don't know if I would have gone.
Yeah. I think, see, I don't know, like, I've got a friendship group. Well, I don't really have any friends anymore, but people I used to know, they all went to get degrees and end up in quite smart jobs and professions.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to have a degree, I think a profession is kind of where you've got to have your hat, and I think that comes from your parents.
Yeah.
And who you're surrounded by. I think a good school also helps. If you've gone to a good school, I think you'll end up leading that academic route. And then again, I think the rest of it's kind of like art and design and stuff like that, isn't it? Apart from that, I think I don't really know what else you would use a degree for. Apart from that, I think you do learn about. I think you grow up quite a bit doing a degree, and there's that work of concentration and learning and putting it all together and putting the work forward. I think there's a lot of work that goes into that part of it. So I admire people who have a degree, because I know there's a level of concentration and things that go into passing the degree and getting a good mark in it. But apart from that, I don't know if the subject matter really matters
unless
anymore.
It's really in my case, science, you have to do a PhD and further to get anywhere in it. Yeah. And actually, a lot of my high school friends who I hung around with at the time didn't go to university. So I don't know. It was something that I was going to do. I don't know. I'd never questioned it. I just thought that's what I want to do, and I did try and go as far away as possible. I went to Sussex, so I lived in Brighton for 4 years.
Like you're literally darting around everywhere, because I'm trying my hardest to catch up with you. So you university. So you're in Manchester, and you went to university where?
Brighton. So
you moved from Manchester to Brighton as far away as you possibly could to do Brighton.
Yeah.
And then after the 2 years, you went to Germany.
Yeah, that's right. So my third year out in Freiburg, which is in the Black Forest in Germany, and then final year back to Sussex, and then I knew I wanted to travel. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a job, and myself and my friend who I met at university, Steffi, we'd talked about doing kind of BUNAC, which is British University's North America summer camps. Yeah. And you go and you work on a kids camp in the States, and then you get time to travel afterwards. We both failed to get in because we didn't have any kids experience. I was literally 22. Yeah. And she did Work America instead, and I said, well, you do that, I'll work in Europe, and I'll come and meet you at the end, and we'll still do the travelling. So we did that. I got a job working for a European tour company. I was only 22, and I was, you see these coaches where there's like a courier on the front talking on the microphone.
That was what you were doing?
That was me with the coach drivers. And some of them were music groups, so that was really inspiring. I took usually it was English groups. I would take them to Europe, and some of them had concerts organised, they had choirs, they had all these things organised, and then I would organise all their activities around that and make sure everything just ran smoothly in the hotels and stuff. So I did that mainly over a couple of summers, I think, and it was great fun. It was a real steep learning curve, you know, things that happened, like a lady got hit by a motorbike in Holland. She walked out and this motorbike hit. She was like quite elderly and she had a hip, I think broken hip from that, I can't remember. But then we did ski trips as well. So the ski trips were organised, and I organised all the bowling and whatever else we did outside of that, which was brilliant fun because it meant I could ski with the coach drivers all day long, and then I'd be there at lunch and dinner, and you know, it was fantastic. So I did all of that.
You've proper done it, haven't you? Proper done a bit of travelling.
I did when I was young.
Yeah.
I haven't done enough lately, you know, but...
Yeah.
So I did that, and then went to meet my friend, and the plan was to travel around America for 4 weeks, and then we got a Delta Air Pass, which meant you could go on all the Delta Air flights around the States. So we went on 19 flights over the course of a month, saw like loads of the States, but we also had an Amtrak train pass, so you could travel on as many trains as you wanted. So we had an absolute ball. Came back a stone heavier, and a lot of money lighter because I stayed for 10 weeks.
It's amazing place to stay, isn't it? It's amazing. I've done quite a few trips over there. My younger teens were quite lucky. Mum and Dad took me on holiday quite a bit. It really opens your eyes, doesn't it?
It's just immense. It's so different as well.
It's a different way of life, isn't it, completely?
Yeah. But like the East Coast, the West Coast, and we stayed with friends we knew.
Did you go to Nevada, did you, by any chance, or did you go to...
We've been to Las Vegas, yeah.
Did you go to Vegas? It's Vegas.
As a backpacker.
It's an amazing place. I went in my teens and changed my life, going to Grand Canyon as well.
Oh, I didn't get to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I did, I was just like, I remember saying to my dad, like, fucking hell, we are really just a dot on this world. He's like, yeah, and you're here for fuck all time as well.
Yeah,
really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit like going to the Lake District to a mountain, but like on acid. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is this massive hole? But Vegas is a bit like that, isn't it?
Oh, it's just...
You walk down the strip in Vegas, like, wow, like, what is that? Like, and we stayed in the Luxor. I think I stayed...
Oh, the Luxor?
Yeah.
I think we stayed there. Is that...
The pyramid,
yes!
I think I stayed there twice or 3 times. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is serious. It makes like any hotel in England look horrendous.
Yeah. I don't the escalators go like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember getting anything. It's like Willy Wonka's factory, isn't it? I think when you see them cars up on the gambling machines, you think like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? Like, it's ridiculous, isn't it? How much it blows out things better. I think. I was going to say to you, I don't always see the appeal to travelling, but I think. In selfish ways, when I say that, I've been quite fortunate. Mum and Dad growing up, and I did do quite a lot of America. Mum and Dad took me on quite a lot of holidays, and I've been on holiday quite a lot. I'll be honest with you, I've been on holidays quite a lot. So I think actually thinking about it in hindsight, probably I did do some travelling, but I did it in holiday form instead of like backpacking myself, sort of thing. I always struggle to understand why people want to do it.
Yeah.
But I guess that whole university piece as well. You have so much time and puts you into that mindset of travel, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think my brother was really inspiring. He did way more travelling than I did, and he was on a kibbutz in Israel. He went.
Why do you think he did so much travelling?
I don't know. I honestly think my dad had something to do with it. He said just go and see the world and just don't settle down yet and just But he, I remember being, I don't know, probably 14, and we did a lot of camping. We used to, as a family, we always used to go down to Newquay and Cornwall, in Cornwall, same campsite, year on year, 15 years growing up. That's where we went as kids for our holidays. It wasn't until we were a bit older that we started going to France, but it was always camping trips. We never did the hotels and things like that. And then I remember one year, so my brother was too old to come with us camping anymore. So I was with my parents, and we were in the south of France camping, and my brother turned up with his tanned, gorgeous friend, and I must have been 13, I think he was 18, and they'd been working the beaches, selling muffins on the beach and watermelon. Come and get your ice Coca-Cola, because there were loads of Germans on the beach, and that's what he did. He backpacked and travelled all around the beaches, and then came and stayed in our tent, won the beauty contest. Well, he didn't, his friend did. He was dancing around in his underpants to the Smiths. And things like that really just stuck with me, and I thought, I want to travel as well, you know.
Yeah, I bet we did. It's nice to have an inspiring brother like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that bit or not?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, because I mean, he was so being, 5 years apart, I think I was his annoying little sister. He left home at 18 and I was only 13. So we had that kind of the teenage years apart, really. And then when he went to university for 3 years and then went travelling after that. So we had a long time apart. And then I think it was later on in life, he came back from travelling, that's right. And we hadn't seen each other for quite an extended period. I'm talking years, because he just didn't come home. He'd send postcards home. He was having a whale of a time. And so I remember one year, growing up, we didn't have a telephone in the house.
Okay.
So I came back from, because Mum said, if Dad will always get called into work if we have a telephone. I'm going, good, ex-directory, Mum, but she wouldn't have it. And I came back from university after a year in Germany with a phone on the corridor, and I'd say, I can't live in this house if you don't get a phone, and so they did eventually. Dad sorted it out and they got a telephone, and then Mum was never off it after that time. But so there was a time when my brother, I never met a single one of his girlfriends. He was just never brought one home, don't know. And then...
Clever.
Yeah, sensible. Actually embarrassed also. Because Mum would have been like nailing him to the altar. And so Mum wrote to me and said, Mark's come home with a girlfriend. I'm like, really? And I was in Germany, and I literally flew home and they'd already left.
Oh.
So I missed it. And I've totally forgot where I was going now with that. Oh yeah, so growing up, there was this, so eventually he came back from travelling when I was in my early 20s. And I was, at the time I was working as a technician for ICI, which was in Macclesfield. I lived at home. I thought I'll be saving money to go travelling. That's what I was doing. So it was just a temporary job. And he came home, and it was about, I think it was October, November time, and he had really itchy feet to go again. I can't remember, I think it was Southeast Asia. And we were getting on really well, because we were both, all of a sudden, we were adults. Yeah. We realised how similar we were, even though we'd had all that time apart. Yeah. And I was like, come on, I need to come out with me and all my friends, and and he had all this Southeast Asian stuff. So this is funny. We would, Bowler's nightclub.
Yeah. I used to go.
Did you?
Yeah, to Life.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Good times.
Well, when that rave finished at, 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
He's got to Maxime's. Also service cars.
Oh my God.
Just drinking coffee.
Yeah. Well, when that rave ended, a car boot sale would set up.
It did, yeah.
And that was us, me and my brother.
Oh, you will have seen me getting in the car. You got any bents and edges.
That was you in the car park.
Trying to change my tracksuit. Absolutely off my head. Seriously.
Oh, brilliant.
So that would have been 1997. 1998.
Oh, actually.
96, 97, 98, 99.
Oh, we were literally just a few years before that. Because,
Well, it got crap because they started serving beer.
Oh.
And they just all turned to fights. It was shit then. But it was mint when it didn't. Just cans of Red Bull.
I think we were there probably somewhere between 92 and 96, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so we properly bonded again.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever really had bonded, because I was his annoying little sister, but all of a sudden we're both adults, got all this background in common, got on really well, and I persuaded him to stay till Christmas. I said, just stay till Christmas so we can have a family Christmas, and he did, and we had a great time. And then I think he literally left after Christmas. Yeah,
Boxing Day morning.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah, gone. So so he went off, and then I went to Australia. That's right, I went to Australia in 94. Yes, so bowlers would have been between 92 and 94. 94 went to Australia for a year. I did that and just did that all the way around.
Saved up at ICI.
Saved up at ICI, and then you could do a work.
My grandpa used to work for ICI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he used to blow up the mountains to put the motorways down.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
All over the UK. That's what he did, yeah. That's what his job was. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He had a mega pension, full state pension till he was 92.
Wow.
Full pay pension till he was 92, yeah.
I mean, it was a brilliant company to work for.
Paid
And
out
I
my
still know
mortgage office,
people.
but-
Yeah.
He did.
I still know people that work there now because they did at the time really look after the staff.
Yeah,
And you know, we did days away, we did weekends
It's amazing
away.
company, yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah,
We used to go to the gym in the mornings.
Yeah.
Miss all the the motorway traffic, go to the gym, and then get showered there, and then go to work. Start early. It's brilliant. So so I worked there for a couple of years, and it was great. It was great fun. It was an easy job, you know.
Not a career path.
Not a career path at all. Wasn't using anything. But and then went travelling to Australia, New Zealand. Was running out of money when I got to Southeast Asia. I did like Thailand, Indonesia. Had some brilliant times there. Just really got a real taste for travel, and ran out of money and said, right, I'm going to go back home. So I got my old job back at ICI for about a year, and my brother came home again, and he said, and he at the time was working in Korea, teaching English, and he said, why don't you just come and work in Japan? You can save up so much more money and just travel from here. So and he said it was only 6% tax as well. So I did. I got my teaching English qualification and applied for the job that was in the Guardian newspaper, teaching English abroad. And I worked for a company, and it's funny actually because it was a company. It wasn't the JET program. It was a private company, and they had 900 in their heyday. They had 900 schools all across Japan.
No way.
And we used to say it's the McDonald's of language schools, thinking it's cheap. It's at every single station across Japan. You're in tiny cubicles teaching up to 3 students. Yeah. But it was very different from McDonald's. McDonald's is a franchise and a really successful one, whereas this was a company that was run by the president, who ended up in prison for embezzling money.
No way.
Yeah. But it was
What an experience. Why do you think that it's such you've done, you've really pushed yourself to go on travelling, and it's something you pushed. I guess it's from dad pushing into your brother, and then your brother just doing it, and then he just kind of guiding you down that path, innit? Yeah,
I think so. It was just, I always wanted to see the world.
Yeah, interesting.
But I always wanted to settle back in the UK.
Did you?
I think at one point I left Australia and went, I'm really going to live there. I'm going to apply for it. And then I went to New Zealand and went, no, I'm really going to live here. But actually, I felt like I was going to settle in the UK eventually.
Do you regret it at all, or do you feel like...
No, I mean, so it's quite a sad story, really. So I went to Japan for a year, and I ended up staying for 5.
Wow.
As you do.
So into late 20s now?
When did I come back? Yeah, so... I went in 97. Yeah, I was 27 when I went, and I came back at the very end of 2001. So my brother at the time was living in Korea, and I was living in Japan. And I'd been there for, I think, a couple of years, and then the economy just died in Korea.
Right.
And so my brother moved back to Japan, got his old job back. He worked in a really reputable school, you know, the international, I think Lardo International College or something. And it was, you know, it was proper. Don't, you know, no disrespect to my school, but it was, yeah.
Different ball.
Yeah. And he lived in, so it was great because then we had the time together in Japan.
No
So
way.
in Tokyo, fairly close to each other. We had our own place in kind of just west of Tokyo. And he was right in the heart by this big river, and lived in an old kind of like a working men's dormitory. That was what it previously was, but it was called Maharaja Palace. It was far from a palace. It was like a company dorm they used to have with salaried, you know, men. All the workers would have their own room. They'd share the kitchen facilities and the showers and stuff like that. Whereas this had now moved on, and it was full of international people from all over the world. There was a couple of Japanese, but it was mostly people from, there were Indian guys there. There was, yeah, just from like New Zealand,
Every corner
every country. And every Sunday, someone would cook their traditional food for the
No
whole
way.
house. Like, I think there was 2 big rooms of like 2 big houses of 20 in each, I think. And they'd, I
So you
remember.
You cooking for everyone else as well?
Oh, this was where he lived, yeah.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, so I remember going, and it was his friend was Indian, and they were literally eating chicken curry out with their fingers, proper, you know.
Yeah, traditional, yeah.
And they had like the hungi, you know, New Zealand, where they cook under the ground, like a barbecue.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. But, and this one particular night, it was the 13th of February, 2000. They had this Sunday night. My brother was I wasn't there. But yeah, they had this really good night. I don't know what was being cooked, but he was in really good spirits, drinking and, you know, juggling oranges in the kitchen. And then the next morning, which would have been the 14th of Feb, there's a phone. We've got a landline in our. So I lived in a little apartment. 3 of us were sharing, and
3 of the teacher people.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good for like an Australian guy. He was a chef, so that was handy. And another girl, and then my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, Luke. He pretty much lived there as well. He eventually lived there, but yeah, we had a phone call, and it was so Mark had met a Japanese couple called Lou and Riru, and he'd met them when they were diving he went to the Philippines diving years before, and it was Riru on the phone, and she said, there's been a terrible fire at your brother's place, and you need to come to this fire station like as soon as you can get here. And I said, is everything okay? And she said, well, your brother's body is still in the room. And that's all she said. I didn't know at that point what had happened. And so it was funny. I was in a bubble, and all I knew was it's payday. It's payday, I think a day later, the 15th, I think it was. And I didn't have any money, and I thought, right, I've got to go and use my credit card. And there were only kind of 2 credit card machines across Japan that you could use with your British credit card. So I was like, right, I've got to go to Yokohama, get my money. And it took ages to get to this specific place. And then when I got there, the police were there, and they had it all written in Japanese, what had happened. And my friend Riru just translated what was going on, and yeah, they had his body right there. He died, and my first question was anyone else involved? And it had happened in I don't actually know exactly how it started, But it happened in his room, and the whole place was pretty much a mess. And yeah, they had to rehouse about 20 people. But at that point, I still don't know exactly how it started, and to me it wasn't important because it wasn't going to bring him back. No. And I just remember, I can't remember what I was going to remember, but everything was in slow motion, and I couldn't go and identify him. He'd already been identified by Lou and Riru, or Lou is the male, Riru is the wife, and I sent Luke, my husband, in. I said, can you just because he was closer to home for me, I thought, I really want to go, but I couldn't do it. So, Luke went in and identified him. But he said he was like, he was in a shroud and stuff, and his face was okay. But and then I had to make that horrible phone call to my parents.
It's horrendous.
Which was an absolute nightmare, because it was the middle of the night, it's to them. No, it wasn't. But by the time... Did they come out to you, or did you fly your brother home? Oh, God, well, I was worried about my dad, because I thought, he was only early 60s, but he was quite a big guy, and I just worried about his heart. And I said, no, it's all right, I'll deal with it, I'll deal with everything. And my husband was brilliant. He wasn't my husband at the time, but he was zooming across London, Tokyo, getting all the, going to the Tokyo embassy, getting all the certification and stuff that we needed. It's horrific. But and actually, Lou and Riru were like my Japanese family. They're they're really special people now that,
I bet they are.
And we actually had him cremated in Tokyo, and then I brought his ashes back. So we had, it's just, I didn't know what to hire, what to do, and I had literally hundreds of people came to and it was amazing how popular I realised he'd been. It was lovely, actually, but very sad. And then we came back and brought him back and had the ceremony here, and
tough life, isn't
it? It was really tough. And then, but I felt I'd got promoted along the way. So I was no longer a teacher. I was working at head office, like huge outfit at Tokyo head office. There was one in Osaka as well. So I'd got promoted along the way, and I felt like I needed to go back. I was literally, my brother died, and within, I think it was 6 days, I was back in the office in Tokyo. Yeah. It was so, I just didn't really deal with it. I was like, gotta carry on.
I understand that though. Yeah.
Just threw myself back in.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a good distraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know I lost my brother, don't you?
Mm.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel about it. Yeah. I'm allowed to pry a little bit on it, just
because
you don't meet many people who lose a brother, do you?
No.
Fucking hell, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, stop.
I can't talk about it. Yeah, I can't talk about it. Let's go back on to Tokyo. Did you stay there for a few years then?
Yeah, well, so that was February 2020, and then August 23rd, the following year, so 2021, my mum called me.
Oh,
and
no.
And I remember I was at work. I was in this big office that I'd said, in Tokyo, and my mum said my dad had had a stroke, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning to her, and I said, well, is he okay? And she said no.
Oh no.
So yeah, that was really
very,
awful.
very difficult.
Yeah, and then and so I came back and I said to my mum, I'm staying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back to Japan.
Yeah.
I'll go back and I'll resign properly.
Yeah.
But I'm coming home.
Are you proper down rooted in Japan? Were you kind of?
No, I was always going to come home.
Were you always going to?
Yeah.
I always got completely used to the culture and everything by then, and learned a bit of language and all that, or you just?
Yeah, I did learn a bit of the language. You have to kind of force yourself to learn the language.
Completely different culture shock. Like if you've been, I've been to like Marrakesh.
Oh,
and
wow.
obviously,
I'd love to go there.
Yeah. But again, do you know when the culture hits you? Do you like you can go to Spain, you can go to whatever, and you kind of get it. And you have to go get lost in some village, don't you, to find the culture of Spain? Like most of it's settled for England, really. You really have to search for it. But when you go somewhere like that, it's full on. Like when I went to Marrakesh, I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck is this?" And I feel like probably Japan is very much like that. Like most people don't speak English.
Yeah. Well, my job was in English, and the only people I spoke to in Japanese were the Japanese staff members sometimes, you know, because in front of the students we had to talk in English.
Yeah.
So you had to, and I lived with foreigners, and so you had to really force yourself to speak Japanese. When we went traveling, so I'd take myself off outside of Tokyo, so like tiny little villages when I could. And on my days off and stuff, because you always had different days off to everybody else, and then I would use it. But I did put myself through a couple of like proficiency tests. But my spoken as an example, spent 5 years in Japan, and my German after 1 year in Germany is streets better. So I could get by, but even at the very end, I was learning new stuff about the culture of Japan. You know, it was incredible, really incredible.
Amazing.
But so I came back. I said to my mum, I'm definitely coming
with
back.
boyfriend in tow as well.
So I said, I stayed with my mum for about 6 weeks. It was when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
So I remember where I was, you know, when I found out.
Yeah.
I
was in a car showroom in Middleton in Manchester.
Honestly.
Yeah, selling cars. Mad place.
Unbelievable.
Mad. On the tellies in the car showroom, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Everyone remembers it, don't they?
I remember where I was when I was in when Princess Diana died as well.
Yeah.
I was in Jiwagaoka School in Tokyo, going on the screens, you know, oh my God. But so I said to my mum, I was back for about 6 weeks, and I said, we'll deal with everything together. And then I said, right, I'm just going to go back to Tokyo. I'm going to finish this correctly. I'm going to just resign. And actually, a job had come up in the London office. So we used to recruit English teachers to go to Japan. And it was a tiny outfit. It was 6 people in the office. Whereas in Japan, there was, I don't know how many people, like 50 or 60 or something, you know, as well as the Japanese staff. So, so I decided, right, I'm coming back. I'll be back for Christmas. And that's exactly what I did. So this job came up. My friend had already got it, but she was pregnant. She was bringing her Japanese husband back to live in the UK. And so because she was pregnant, it was not long after she was going on maternity leave, so they said there's a temporary opening. Anyway, I took it. It was like proper interview with the board and everything, and got the job. I was really chuffed, but it was only temporary.
Yeah, it's still fortunate.
One of us had something.
Yeah.
And I said to my boyfriend at the time, I'm going back. And he said, I'm coming with you. So, and that was it. And the rest is history. And then
Amazing.
we settled in London then. He got a job within the language industry as well.
No way.
Yeah. So and then
I can talk about my brother again now. If that's all right.
Yeah, of course it is.
How did you cope with the grief of it, or how did you cope with it, or not cope with it, or what did you do to get through it all? Because I'm still fucking tormented by it. It's 5 years, and I'm like daily tormented by it. I'm just wondering, how did you get through it?
Initially, I threw myself back into work, and with the promotion and everything, I would just I did a lot of running. Loved running at the time.
I think there's a lot of therapy in running, isn't there?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm going to tell you something a bit woo-woo now.
Fucking hell, I'm fully here for it. Like, I'm fully here for woo-woo. This podcast is going to go on for about 3 hours. I'm not asked. I'm here for it. I've got fuck all else to do today. Talk to me about woo-woo.
Woo-woo. So, when where we lived previously, when my brother died, the lease came up on that, so we decided we're going to move back towards Tokyo, and it was just me and Luke at that point. So we were moving in together, tiny little apartment, and it was over the river, the Tama River, from where my brother passed away. So it was a bit close for comfort, and so we moved in, and I felt like I couldn't go out dancing. I couldn't go out singing karaoke. I just was in a different...
You don't want to celebrate?
No, I couldn't do it. I didn't want to. I wasn't interested. And so I was kind of throwing myself into work, doing a lot of running, and things didn't go very well with me and Luke. And we ended up arguing, and he was, although very sportive at the time, I felt like I was holding him back, and so we separated. It was a horrible day. I'll never forget going back to the apartment for the first time.
No one there.
Pouring down with rain. There was a dead cat in the road. It was just it was just like, it was
the perfect
so
scene
miserable.
For a film.
Oh, it was just and I was like, I think it was up steps to our apartment. I can't really remember. I just remember going up iron steps. It was pouring with rain. There were big trucks going past. I was alone. It was a really low point. And I thought, I don't want to live here by myself.
Yeah.
And it was actually during that time as well when I did a lot of running along the Tama River. And I forgot I was talking about the woo-woo, wasn't I? I've gone off on a tangent again.
Not you.
But just running along, and I was feeling this was in the daytime now. But that was a turning point when I realised I didn't want to be in that apartment anymore, wanted to be back with people.
Yeah.
But I remember one particular morning I was running along the Tama River, and I was just feeling low. And all of a sudden, this ginormous black butterfly just came and landed as I was running. I wasn't going particularly fast, but it landed on me, and I was like, that's my brother.
Yeah.
It was just something sent to make me feel I wasn't alone.
Yeah. Amazing. I think we've got a big black tattoo.
If I had anything, that's what it would be.
You fucking got a tattoo studio this afternoon.
Yeah.
If you haven't got any tats, you need to go now.
I know.
I've got a fuck off butterfly on my leg.
Have you?
Yeah, massive one.
What colour?
Yeah, black. Well, it's a black
No.
tattoo. It's black and white tattoo. Yeah, I've got a massive. You smell that big. I'm not taking your pants down. You have to pay for that.
But the weird thing was, like, a few years ago, I've got this friend she's an incredible lady. Her name's Clara. She's got, sadly, 2 disabled. She's got 3 sons, but the eldest 2 both have Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and they're wheelchair bound, and it's really sad. It's really sad. But she's an artist and stuff, and they had to move out we lived in Epsom. We had to move out, and they got like sponsorship from all these architects to make this bungalow into a better place for her sons and stuff. Anyway, it's a long story, but I remember going to her house, and she's just so wonderful. And the boys are just wonderful, and they're both in wheelchairs permanently now. But she had this life that she had to create for them. They couldn't live in the town because there'd be stairs, there'd be all sorts to navigate. But she lives in the middle of the woods in this house. And I went over one day, and there were a few friends over. She was always cooking, and it was always wonderful. And in order to get this house to how they wanted it to be, it took more than a year. And they built a wooden lodge at the back of the garden while all the architects were working on it. And it was freezing cold. And they were, they had no hot shower or anything. They lived over in the winter, all of them, in this little thing.
Fucking, I bet she's strong as an ox.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And so eventually we were helping them move stuff back from this into the house when it was all done. And she just brought in this incredible, massive painting with material on it that she'd made, and it was a massive black butterfly. And I always felt a connection with her anyway, but I was like howling. I was in floods of tears, and you know, in front of strangers in her house that I'd never met before. And I was like, I couldn't get my words out. But that was, to me, that was like, oh my God.
Have you got any tattoos?
No, my husband is, he's got sleeves like you,
Yeah.
and he's...
You need a fucking big black butterfly on your neck or something.
About my neck. But I have considered it. It would be My sister-in-law's got a lovely, bright, colourful butterfly.
Yeah.
But
I didn't get any tattoos. I'd had one booked, and then my brother passed away, and I was in and ahhing, and I was always maybe going to cancel it. And then as soon as he passed away, I was like, I no longer care about anyone else's opinion above me. I'm going to just
do it.
Yeah, and I think I've been working on myself since that day.
Yeah.
And just never stopped working on myself and trying to get myself where I want to be or what I think I should be like, and just kind of working on my identity all the time from that point onwards, really.
5 years is not a long time, though, is it?
No, it's fuck all.
Was he older or younger?
Younger than me. Yeah, I found him at the bottom of the stairs, Mum and Dad's house. Yeah, young himself, it was fucking horrendous. But yeah, the bit I was going to ask you about is, do you miss the language that you and your brother had? That's what I miss the most.
Yeah, do you know, I've just remembered something really funny. That, you know, like I can hear him saying it.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something like tut stairs or... I can't remember, but I can hear him saying, you know,
we
funny
used to do it all the
things.
time.
Yeah.
It comes back to me and my brother would, like, if someone does something a bit stupid, and in the office you just go, as if to say, you fucking thick cunt. Bad, I don't ever allowed to say the C word, but it's a new thing now. We used to do it all the time. It was so funny. We used to rip each other to pieces, but when we were in new people's, so like we'd be seeing clients, and like the client would say something stupid, and I'd go, and me and him would be like beside ourselves, and this woman's babbing on about a nursing home, and we're like literally can't even speak. And I always feel like if I could...
But do you have a little chuckle to yourself?
Oh,
sometimes?
Yeah.
I know exactly what it's saying.
Yeah, so I have to be kind of professional in my job and stuff like that, but every now and again, well, pretty much daily, to be honest with you, I just think to myself, I don't care, I'm going to be a little bit crazy. And it's my way of keeping myself alive.
Absolutely.
He was a little bit more crazier than me. And I just try and keep it in my life a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Tom. Yeah, Thomas. Tom. So my little boy, Logan, was born 2 months after he passed away, so he's Logan Thomas. Yeah. And Jackson was 6 and... Yeah, I don't know how old Jackson was. Jackson's 8 and Logan's 5 now, so yeah. I was like my lowest ever because I just lost Tom and it was at Christmas, and then Logan came on the 30th of December.
Oh,
so I was
bittersweet.
Fucking hell, I was on bits. I think also I'm really glad that you didn't go and see your brother, because that stuck with me forever, and that isn't a great thing either.
No.
And then my dad, when my dad passed away, I actually missed my dad passing away because I was in at Wim Hof's house doing ice water when my dad died. But yeah, I seen him just before, because I went away for just before it. My brother died on my dad's birthday, and my dad died after my brother's birthday. Like, fucking hell, woo-woo. Yeah, like, I'm fully here for it, like, I didn't used to be, but like, I live that life now. I just love it, I'm here for it. So yeah, interesting story. So I just got off a right tangent there, but not very often you meet people who've lost a sibling, and I think a sibling loss is much deeper than a lot of other things. Yeah. Because I think it's just that connection you have as kids. Growing up.
It's not expected, is it? No. You know, especially for your poor mum and dad at the time. You know, just to have lost you know.
And then losing your dad as well, that was so difficult.
Yeah.
So it's just me and mum now fighting the world. But
that's it. That was, then I lost my mum about 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. 2017, yeah. But she was amazing, you know, just battled on. And
how have you got from Japanese travelling lunatic
to
we
haven't even talked about franchising.
No, it's not about franchising, it's about the people in franchising. And I just how have we got, what the fuck have you done, Helen? How did you get there?
I had a baby.
Problem in it, that. It's always fucks everything up to me.
But actually, on 2 levels, really. So the first thing was, I always knew I wanted to run my own business. I didn't want to work for someone else.
I think your brother just taught you the skills of that give you that appetite, isn't it? You can see it comes from, can't you? Yeah,
he was the entrepreneur, I think, in terms of having the ideas. I don't think I'm the ideas person, but I just knew I wanted to run my own kind of shop thing. And when I went back so I had Harry, my eldest, he's now 19, and when I went back to work, I was still working for the same company, and actually I should have, they didn't treat me very well, you know, and I should have actually done something at the time about it. They wouldn't stand the test now. But so I went back to work with a bitter taste in my mouth, thinking I've had to renegotiate my pay because I'm going back part-time, and I was like, this is just, I've been so loyal to this company. So it was at that point I started looking around for things, and I discovered, it was actually a male colleague that said, have you heard about Caterpillar Music? It's a franchise. I've just got this flyer, because he was based in the Kent area. And I said, no, because I started looking at, because I always thought about running my own business, but I didn't have the confidence to start up by myself. And he said, what about a franchise? So I actually investigated Caterpillar Music. It wasn't in the BFA directory at all. And it was one of the questions I asked them when I went to see them. But for some reason I pursued it. And liked the idea of it. It was a family run, bought a franchise. And the rest is history. Well, the rest isn't history. I bought a franchise, loved it because I could choose my own hours, choose the days of work.
Use your teaching skills.
Use my teaching skills. I had a little bit of teaching little ones. And I just loved all the time I spent with my son in baby and toddler groups. It was just the joy you get is just incredible. I built it up, and in the Clapham and Wandsworth area, and then I had the Wimbledon area as well, and I built it all up and just absolutely loved it. Did it for about 12 years, and shortly after moving house, about a year after I moved house, and I'd sold the Wimbledon franchise, sold the Clapham and Wandsworth franchise, bought an Epsom franchise, still, you know, within Caterpillar Music. The lady who originally set it up decided she was going to move on and offered it to the network to bid for. So that's what happened. So I bought the business. Loved it so much, bought the business, and now...
Can I ask how old you are? I never ask a lady how old you are.
I'm very old.
How old
Ryan.
are you?
I'm probably old enough to be your mum.
Are you really?
53.
Fucking hell, you've done a lot in your life, haven't you? I love
Do
that
you know
about
what?
you.
I don't feel like I've done that much in the last 15 years, 20 years. I feel like it was all before.
I think you've done shitloads. Fucking hell, you nuts. When you have a fucking day off. Fucking hell, it's good that, isn't it? It's sick. Like, I love that you've come set up business, had a franchise, sold one, so you've been part of buying and selling a franchise.
Yeah, and I've been in the recruiting, you know, before I was recruiting English language teachers. It just kind of evolved into this now.
It was like set for you, weren't it?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like it, knowing your story now, and I've literally touched on so many things because I was trying to find out how you got into it, but you can see why all the dynamics are coming.
It's like a natural progression into this, and I can kind of help the franchisees now because I've done it, been there,
done that,
bought
and
it,
sold it. Yeah. Do you still have
And
one yourself, or do you just look after the network?
But that's the funny thing, you were talking earlier about, we were talking about the intergenerational stuff and about you going out to see some of the clients. I've just, after 5 years of me being the franchisor, I stopped all my classes in the last 5 years, thinking I've got to focus on this because it needed some serious improvement.
Have you got a team? Is it just you? How do you work it?
I've got one franchise administrator, Emma Jane. We have a software which is outsourced, but they're great. They have their own support helpline, so that's kind of the IT bit kind of taken care of for all the franchisees. It's just,
How many franchisees have you got?
17.
17.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it?
It's all right, yeah. And I just felt like I needed to be on the ground.
Yeah.
And actually, I absolutely love. I've started running my own classes again.
It's mad, isn't it?
January.
So I've done exactly the same. I've gone full circle and gone back out seeing clients because the economy is tough. It was really tough last year. It was fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
I do think it's come back, especially in the temporary sector of staffing, and then I'm doing all the things that I used to do with Tom and myself, and driving around in my car and having a laugh and just basically flirting with women all day long. and I'm just falling back in love with it all, and I kind of wish I wasn't doing my job. I just wish I could just do that sometimes. It's interesting the day. I was thinking about, we did a talk about Kanzai yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like everyone doing their own little bit of in a business. Yesterday I talked to the team about it, and I was going to do one next week about, I was going to ask everyone, okay, he's going to have a little, and anyone else watches this, but it won't be out by the time next week, but I think I'm going to ask everyone how many years is it till they're 56, and get them to work out and say, do you think you work really hard now, and how much work do you put into that right now? I said, right, okay. So my mum started this business when she was 56. She's now she's now 71.
Wow.
So mum's 71. She started at 56, and she runs this whole company with me.
That's amazing.
I know, and kind of not in a nasty way, but kind of get people to reflect on what's achievable in life.
Yeah.
And how stressed they think they are in their current role.
Yeah.
And how stretched they are, and what abilities, and how much time they've not got left, and
yeah.
all them things that you put in labels on yourself and say to yourself, my mum started this business that you've got a full-blown career on in X amount of years. So I'm 42 in June.
Yeah.
So in however many years that is, 14 years, whatever, my mum started this business, and I think I'm pulled out now.
Oh my God.
Isn't it fucking scary, that? Puts things in perspective for you, doesn't it?
Wow. So
you could finish Caterpillar in 5 years' time and start something completely different.
Wow.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But then, do you know what? Now, I think I probably would have the confidence to start something.
Yeah, you've learned all your lessons now. Look at the dynamic business owner you are now compared to where you first started.
But even in the last year, I've kind of done stuff that I've thought, got myself properly out of my comfort zone.
I feel like you're just getting warmed up.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I feel like you're just getting warmed up.
Do you know what? I do feel like that.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's been the making of me buying the business, because I think I wouldn't have pushed myself quite as much, perhaps, because I'm supporting my franchisee. I'm doing it for them because I can see the difference it makes. You know, that the franchisee I saw yesterday, she was a train guard before, and she knew that wasn't the life for her. It wasn't what she wanted to do forever. But she was she'd done some kind of work in the music industry. She just had a baby, and she bought a franchise last summer, and she's like, this is the best thing ever. And I saw her yesterday running that class. We had lunch with a little boy, and it was just like, it's just made such a difference. And I feel now that I'm equipped to help people more. And I don't know, it's funny, isn't it? There's different things that you do, and the things you pick up along the way, and then
it's amazing what you learn from franchising. I absolutely love the franchise industry, and that's why I started this bloody podcast, because I think there's some amazing people like yourself in it. And I think it's like, I can't remember the statistics. I sat down with this guy called Lee this morning in the gym for a little bit, and we were talking about small business. He has a small business. He's got an amazing business. He supports football players, blah blah blah. Anyway, And I think I don't know what the percentage are, some geek will tell us, but like how many small businesses run the UK.
Oh, yes.
It's just like, and the franchise industry is a massive part of that.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's recognised as much as it is everywhere else in the world.
No.
And I think the more people can talk about it, and the more people who see podcasts like this, they'll get to recognise that they might be interested in it or become a franchisee.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What about your husband now? What does he do?
It's funny. So when I met, you're going to laugh at this. When I met him, I was his trainer. I was his boss.
We're all the same, you women. You act like you've got little angels, all the same. I've learnt it as I get older in my 40s. I'm starting to understand it now.
So
Good work, Lee. Good work, mate.
He claims he slept his way to the top.
Like if he was here, I'd definitely give a little fist bump.
So he was my underling. Still is, obviously. I wear the trousers. And he stayed actually within the language industry. He got a job in London, and he worked his way up, and he became the general manager at one point. And then it's not a very nice story because he had to make it profitable, so he had to lose a few people along the way. And then, of course, who's the highest paid? Him. Okay, we'll get rid of him as well now.
We'll make him do all the dirty work and let him go.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So he got made redundant from there. Yeah. Did he get made redundant? Yeah. And then he set up his own business. Then that went a bit pear-shaped. I don't know if he'd like me talking about it. And so now he wanted to sidestep from the language industry, and he now works for the University of the Creative Arts, which is, so he's still doing the same role. It's all about kind of sales and marketing and bringing students in from overseas and to study at, I think there's 3 campuses around the south of the UK. Yeah. So he's gone back to a role that he's done previously, but with the university sector rather than the private
You're both
language.
grown-ups, aren't you?
Yeah. But he gets to travel now, and I'm...
You mean, you're not doing international Caterpillar yet?
Not yet. Watch this. But I had actually thought, you know what, it would be so popular in Japan.
You mean I'm going to Japan to you later, sweetheart?
Yeah. I'm off. So no, actually, I'm going to Southport. Liverpool.
So what's your next bits for you? What's your next thing?
Well, I want to grow the business. Yeah. I want to have a bigger team so that I can step back and focus on the main business. At the moment, I'm right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Too close to the fire a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know beyond that really. I just want to
getting new team members is always a challenge. I've got some horrible team members.
Have you? Yeah, I've met them all today.
And end.
So beyond that, I don't really know. Yeah, I still feel like I'm right in the middle of it, and I want to make there's so much more I can do with the business.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
There's so much more I can do with it, and I want to grow it and make it the best it can possibly be for the franchisees, and just give them
12 years though, it's a long time to have it and then buy something, isn't it?
Yeah, well 12 years as a franchisee, and then now it's coming up for 6 years as a franchisor. So yeah,
you're just getting warmed up. It'll be interesting to see what in the next 10 years, won't it? It'll be interesting. Japanese caterpillar, whatever caterpillar is in Japanese.
Oh, do you know, I can't even remember. I could probably tell you in German. But
we'll do Germany first then.
Yeah, I can't even remember what that is. Oh yes, I do. Is it a mini Rauben? Because I've actually got one of my franchisees teaches some German songs.
No way.
Yeah, so she has
How many territories have you got left to sell? Loads or a few?
Loads.
Yeah, loads.
We've literally,
Scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Would you never go to the expos? Too much investment?
Do you know, I did initially, and
got nothing from
it was, no, because they were I did the Women in Business Expo, And I felt there was, I think for us, what I've started to do actually is go to places where mums are, because a lot of our franchisees are mums within the classes.
Yeah.
So I've started going to some of the smaller local market type things. The women in business was just too corporate and just...
You know, the expos, I always sing about, I think you should get the rest of the children's activities one, go to VMG and get a deal. I think you should be able to. Have you got Theo on board with it as well?
Yes.
And a few of you, and did like a children's activities section at the next one, maybe October or June. Like, I think, because make it cost per head less for you, because the investment's low.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? And do it that way. Because you'd
idea.
be surprised how many people you talk to who are after part-time stuff, and I can't, you know what I mean? So it's interesting, and
I'm actually saying that. I am actually going to the Childcare and Education Expo at the weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm on a stand, but it's about children's franchises.
Yeah.
So I'm going I'll wear my Caterpillar gear, but it's actually a children's franchise stand.
Oh.
So that's quite good, because it's, you know, we'll get a lot of kind of childcare staff walking around who are considering perhaps,
So what would you be target market, like nurses, teachers,
lots
assistants?
of teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad to say that teachers are leaving in droves, but this is the ideal. We've got, I think, about 30% of our franchisees were teachers.
With nurses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? But
Pay them more.
yeah.
Stop blowing our taxes.
Yeah.
I think I've covered everything I need to cover. Listen, I could talk to you for 3 days. Like, we could get a couple of bottles of wine and we could cover shitloads. Wow, like, you are like amazing. I want to talk to you about Japan. I want to talk to you about so much more, but I just need to get the story out of you.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful to have met you. I'm glad to have got to know you a bit better.
Thank you. No, I feel like really privileged to have been asked to come on.
Nice.
Sorry if I've waffled.
Nah. What the industry
And the
the franchise industry is built on people like you. You should be proud. I love the fact that I know you now. Yeah, I think there'll be some amazing franchisees love working with you, and I'm sure you'll make some more amazing franchisees too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.